Welcome to the Did You Know Quilting Show. I'm Christina Whitney, and today's question is, did you know that you will have much better success with straight line quilting with a ruler? So we're going to do a little bit of playing today with a straight line ruler to work on some straight lines, and let's take a look at what I'm going to do. Let's talk about rulers. First of all, we're going to talk about what things you're going to need in order to do ruler work. First thing is going to be a ruler base, and you're going to want to have a surefoot, and you are going to want to have a ruler. So those are the three main things that you're going to need. Now, I have already put my surefoot on, so it's got a higher profile. We'll take a picture or take a look at that up close. And it is a little bit safer to prevent the ruler from hopping over the foot. Now I've also got a ruler. I'm going to be playing with some straight edge rulers today. So this is one, and I'll pull out some others as we get going so that we can see which one works best for what I'm actually doing. Now I'm going to bring the machine over a little bit here. So I've got this ruler base already on. This gives me a little bit more stability. It's pretty easy to put on and off. So it's got some little openings here, and it's got pegs on the actual machine. So I'm going to put those over the top of those pegs and pop it into place. So that is my ruler base. So with the ruler base on, I've got a lot more stability there. The downside is, though, is if I come too close to the edge, you can see the ruler base is going to be hitting my clamps if I have my clamps there. To prevent that, there's many things that you can do, but what I usually do is I would just pin on a piece of twill tape or just whatever I happen to have on stock or on hand. And then I'm going to take my clamps and attach the clamp to the actual twill tape. So grab the other one. Okay, so now I've got my tension on the sides there, really nice. Now I think I am just about ready to stitch with my rulers. I'm working on this fun panel here, and what I want to do is I'm going to stitch in the ditch, I guess you could call it, around each one of these little rectangles. Now to do that, I already went ahead and stitched up and all the way across, and I used my straight edge ruler because it's the longest straight edge that I had, and that allowed me to do larger distances going across. But I think for the little parts, this one might be a little bit difficult to manage in the smaller spaces. So I've got a few others here. This is my skinny ruler. This one fits my hand a little bit better. It still might be kind of big, but it's more manageable. Or I've also got my mini, so I could use that. Then I've got some other rulers that are not just straight edge, but they have a straight edge on them. So you might have a ruler that has a straight edge that you could use to get the job done. So finding the right tool for the job. As you're looking at this ruler, you might notice that I've got some painter's tape on it. I can take that off. It is just there to cover up my handy grip. So it's like this sandpaper kind of stuff. It comes in long pieces, and you just rip off whatever amount you need and stick it onto the back side of the ruler, and that will help hold the ruler in position so it doesn't slide as much. And I just keep the painter's tape on there just to prevent my rulers from scratching, or the handy grip from scratching my other rulers. So when I'm using it, I take the tape off, and then when I'm storing it, I'll put the tape back on. Before we start stitching, I want to talk about my settings. So I'm going to move up here to my screen. Now I've got my Amara screen open, but I do want to point out that if you do have Pro Stitcher, you want to make sure that your Pro Stitcher gears have been disengaged so that you've got the purple crosshairs. That will make the movement of the machine a lot smoother. Now for doing ruler work, I generally, for something like this, I'll keep my stitches per inch about 12, and I'm going to use a regulated stitch mode in cruise, but I'm going to drop my speed down a little bit. I'm going to do like maybe 75. That's just a ballpark. The other thing that I really like to have is my needle to stop in the down position. So make sure that the down arrow is the one that is green. So when I pause my stitching, the needle's going to pause in the fabric, and that's going to be my placeholder. So it's going to hold everything where I need it to be. Okay, so those are my settings. Again, I've got my ruler base on, I've got my Surefoot on, I put extenders on so that my ruler base doesn't hit the clamps, and I've got a ruler. So I'm going to stitch across this line and up. So I'm going to bring the machine into position and bring up my bobbin thread. While it's there, I'm going to do a little tie off. So I'm just using my needle up down button to cycle. So again, that needle is stopped in that down position, and that's going to help hold the machine in place while I take my ruler and put it in place. So I'm going to bump the ruler up against my foot, and then the other side, so I'm stitching a straight line here. Rather than putting the ruler right on the line where I want it to stitch, I need to be about 1/4 of an inch away, because that's going to allow that space between the needle and the edge of the foot. Okay, I'm going to do light pressure pushing down on the ruler, and I'm going to try to keep my hand out of the way. It's pretty close, so we'll do the best we can. And then I'm going to start stitching. If I need to do slight adjustments as I'm going along, I can always do that. And then I pause. Anytime I need to move my ruler, I pause my machine. I don't want the needle going up and down while I'm moving the needle or moving the ruler, because that could cause some issues. Okay, now I want to travel up the line. So again, my ruler is bumped up against my foot. I'm lining it up 1/4 of an inch away from where I want to stitch. And I'm going to move up. Now right here, I want to catch this line. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that right now. And this is where I'm going to be doing some backtracking. So having that handy grip on is very important. Now you might notice that this is not a super fast process. Ruler work is not fast, even though when you watch it on social media, you see all the sped up stuff. That part is fast, but actually doing it is not the fast part. But on the flip side, it's definitely more precise. Oh, sorry, hair in the way. I can hold the ruler in the front of the foot, or I can put it in the back. It's going to be your personal preference and also what your eye can see better from that angle. So for right now, I'm going to keep it in the back just because I can see better while I've got the cameras kind of blocking my view. Now let's say that I needed to do a diagonal line. Doing a diagonal line, just free motion, is very tricky, but with the ruler, it's much, much easier. So let's say I was going to draw or stitch a straight line through here, and I needed to end right at this point. What I'm going to do is, again, my needle is in the down position where I'm starting, bump that ruler up against the foot, and then look at my ending point, and I'm going to rotate the ruler until it's 1/4 of an inch away, and then I would stitch along that line. Okay, I'm not actually going to stitch that through the middle of this quilt, but you get the idea. So the big thing is 1/4 of an inch away, slow down, relax, enjoy the process, don't fight it. I found a lot of people tend to get really stressed and they push hard down on their ruler. Well, what that's doing is it's pinching the fabric in between the ruler and the ruler base, and the ruler base is connected to the machine. So as I'm trying to move that ruler base, it's pulling the fabric and making it really difficult. So slight pressure down when you're doing your ruler work.
I hope that you found this information helpful. Here is some additional video footage of me doing some ruler work with straight line rulers. In this video though, however, you can see that I'm doing some diagonal lines, which is a lot of fun. Again, I'm making sure that the ruler is staying 1/4 of an inch from where I need to be stitching. And I'm also doing some stitch in the ditch. So sometimes this can get a little bit tricky. You just need to make sure that you slow down, take a little bit of time, and be able to adjust the ruler just a little bit if you need to make sure that that needle is getting right in that ditch between the two pieces of fabric where they're pieced together.
That's just a quick little sneak peek at using rulers, just focusing on the straight ruler. There's so much more that we can do with the rulers, but start easy, just get familiar with it, get comfortable with the feel, try the different settings, have fun with it, and make sure that you have fun quilting this week.